What's up, everyone? The end of this Minnesota-Memphis game was unbelievable. I was at the edge of my seat all game, let's break down let's break down three of the plays at the very end. We're going to start off with Edwards' game-tying three. Once again, we'll let it play out, and then we'll go back and rewind it and go through it slowly. Great shot. So the cool thing about this play is it really demonstrates how just one or two, no, not one, obviously, two or three very simple actions when weaved together and you get the rhythm of the play right can look a lot more complicated than it actually is. This is a great example. It's very, very simple actions, stuff, you've probably been running since middle school, but it just, all the pieces fall into place, and obviously you've got the best athletes in the world executing it. So when it looks right, it looks really right. So right off the bat, we have McLaughlin taking the ball out. And he's going to throw it to Towns. Obviously, he's the biggest guy in the court. You just have to throw it up there. No problem there. It's going to be a simple DHO. The first part is pretty key because, McLaughlin's been playing decent this series, but, he's not the guy who's going to be able to get a good blow by on a defender just by himself. But he doesn't need to. Right? Basically, all he has to do is get a little bit, like a quarter step, not even just half step or quarter step on his defender coming around this turn right here, and then he can make the next play, the following play. So throws it to Towns. He knows exactly to come get it. It's a DHO. So you got Brooks guarding Towns here. Right off the bat, like you can tell, he's way too high up to cut that off. Now, obviously, if he had like absolute, just absolute spider reflexes, he might be able to just come out and hedge super hard. That would have blown this play up, but it's very hard to be able to notice that in this stage of the game, especially when this play is developing so quickly. So I'm gonna do frame by frame the next a little bit. So you see, okay, so it sticks with Towns. It's probably the right call. Anderson's coming under it. You probably don't expect Minnesota's fourth guy on the court, fourth meaning fourth option in this particular context, to just come around and just pull it immediately. But he could have. I mean, he's a shooter. Like, this is wide open. Like, again, like, no one would fault him if he shot this. It's a good shot. And, look at that. Anderson's way under the play, so there's no chance of contesting it. But, it's not what they drew up, and McLaughlin, I'm sure, is he's going to try the actual play they drew up. I'm just pointing out that already, like, let's put it this way. If he wasn't the fourth option on this team, if he was the first option, he probably would have taken that shot. And a lot of first options on several NBA teams would probably take that shot. And again, not a bad shot. So this is what I'm talking about. He's not the quickest guy on the court. He's not going to be able to get a quarter or half step on anyone just by just off his handle alone. But look at this. You got the little fade going on with McDaniels hitting Ja, and a beautiful bounce pass. Knowing that the only way Clark can pick that off is by jumping the lane. So beautiful bounce pass to perfection. And then this is where you still have to have just elite athleticism to get that shot off, because Clark is, what, 6'9 and a half, 6'10, very springy, as this game demonstrated. So you still have to be able to really elevate to get the shot off. But, of course, our man Ant. I don't know if I mentioned this on stream. I'm on the record going as far back as November as saying that he's going to win MVP one day. You can check my stream history. You can check when I talk to my friends about it. Something of just about the way he's developed, like the mental part is 100% there with him. Being a second-year player and already adding so much to his game, like every month it seems like, that's the part I'm most impressed with. So yeah, great shot, obviously. All right, so like again, this is what I'm talking about. Just nice, simple DHO to to get the step necessary to let this action develop, and this action being the fade to the corner. And so I just wanted to point out one last thing, which is what should Ja maybe have done here. So this is tricky because again, right now, fourth option, 7 seconds left. He's probably not going to take that three. He probably could have. No one would have fought him if he didn't. So right now, you're thinking help maybe. If he's going to take a straight shot into the lane. So I think Ja does the right thing here. No help. Why? Number one, Anderson's pretty long. He's not that badly beat. He could easily recover. Number two, they need three, not two. So even if he gets all the way down, as long as you don't come off the 3-point line, you're fine. And even then, like for that kind of height differential, that finish is probably only 40%. So he absolutely does the right thing, not helping. He does not see the back pick. So this is probably a learning moment. If you're gonna not, how should I put this? If you've decided mentally that it's not worth it to help, then you shouldn't even ball. Like, why even care, right? Like, why even like look at the play? Like, you almost could face guard Edwards at this point, and if he'd had, he probably would have blown that play up. Again, like this is all in a split second. No one expecting everyone to have perfect awareness on defense. Just an interesting thing to think about. But to his detriment, he probably does pay too little attention to his man. That's all I'm saying. But that's fine. Like again, no one expects perfect defensive awareness in a split second. The way he probably should have reacted was to, be faced chest to his defender a little more. That way he could have either caught McDaniels setting the pick in his periphery, or he could have just stuck with him all the way, and at least run him off this portion of the line, so you make him take a really awkward angle. But again, no one's faulting that. You can't expect that. So I just wanted to point that out. Definitely should not help, and the fact that he saw it a little late is, that's why it's the best league in the world, because the offense can just be a split second ahead of you in terms of the play developing. The offense can be just a split second ahead of you, and amazing things can happen. So that's awesome. This play was great. The next play I'm going to talk about is Ja's game winner. This one I'm actually not going to spend that much time on. A lot of people point out that Edwards went for an awful steal attempt, like it wasn't even close. I'm not going to harp on that. Yeah, not close. Look at that. Like a good foot away. A foot away just by distance alone, not to mention any half-decent basketball player would know how to seal you with their body there, so not close at all. The only thing I wanted to point out about this play, all right, we'll let it play out, and then I'll say what I wanted to say. The only thing I wanted to point out about this play is I think Ja is the best, one of the best, definitely the best in the league right now, and one of the best, if not the best ever at this particular skill, which is covering horizontal distance with a 2-footed jump. I can't recall anyone that I've watched who can do that as well as he can, which is, look at how far he takes off from with a 2. Now, normally people do 1-footed jumps for a distance take. No, this guy, look how far he's taking out from inside the dotted line with 2 feet, and he still gets all the way to the rim. And not only gets there, but still make a controlled layup. That's amazing. I just wanted to point that out because there's a lot of great jumpers in the league, but how should I put this? There's a lot of great jumpers who enter the league. Like, you can be a second-round draft pick if you can just jump out of the gym. I can go back to the draft history, and it's littered with guys like that. And some of them succeed and some of them don't. But I'm just saying, like, you can leap out of the gym and become a second-round draft pick easily. But a very small fraction of those guys can actually take leap jumping ability and do stuff like this. Like, first of all, cover that much horizontal distance and still be coordinate enough to turn that into an actual finish at the rim. That's amazing. So, terrible steal attempt. He'll learn from that. He's still gonna be MVP in a few years, so he's definitely gonna learn from that. But just Ja doing Ja things, like that's the kind of finish that he excels at. And let me just back it up a little bit. Like a lot of guys will take a pull up right there, mid range. That would be great. Someone savvy like Chris Paul might really try to suck in this defender and then dump it off to whoever's cutting right here. It's too low res. I can't tell. I think it's Bane, but that is an option. Although this guy is so long, that's an easy pass to mess up. I've messed up that pass in pickup personally, like so many times. I've made it 1,000 times in my life too, but I've also messed it up a few hundred times, where you just don't expect the length to disrupt it the way it does. A lot of guys would pull up there. Some guys might pass it off, and then most guys who attack the rim would probably take one more dribble before trying to get a little bit of a closer take, or maybe like a Euro step if that's their bag. But just the fact that Ja can do this kind of thing, just jump up in 2 feet and glide, that's incredible. Okay, so that's that play. Now, the other play I wanted to talk about was the play that made me leap out of my chair and scream, which was, of course, Ja's dunk at the end of the third quarter. So let's watch it, and then I'll talk a little bit about it.
Winner takes a 3-2 lead in this opening round series. Morant. Oh! A jawbreaker! At the Grizzlies' den, it is Ja.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, why can't I do that? Like, I'm a simple man. I don't have many wishes in life, Like, I make a good living now, but I still don't drive a fancy car. I don't need fancy clothes. I don't go to fancy restaurants. I just eat Wendy's. So I'm a simple man. I don't ask for much. The only thing I ask for is to be able to just dunk on people from 12 feet away. That's all I want in life. Anyways, so we'll watch. So let me talk about what is crazy to me about this play, other than, just the execution, obviously. But so right here, right when he comes off, he denies the pick, and then this guy's off. Who is that? Reed. He's he doesn't see the deny coming, so he's thrown off balance. First of all, just the quickness to take advantage of that. That's elite. Like, people don't realize how hard that is. You can trick people all you want, but if you don't have the quickness to beat them, it's meaningless. I hate to keep using myself as an example because I'm such a garbo basketball player, but that's kind of my problem when I play. Like, I have moves for days. I can fake people like nobody's business. But even when I get them off balance, I'm not quick enough to finish my moves, so it's irrelevant. But that's just ripping on myself a little more. So that's awesome. Right about here, when he gets into the lane, I already knew. Like, I know I mentioned this in my other video where I can see a play develop, usually. Right here, I knew he was going to go for it. Just based on his history, like, I know he had the failed attempt on Kevin Love. I know he had a couple others like that where if he's coming in the lane, he wants to go really long and really hard. So right here, I already know he's going to go for it. But despite that, it still didn't shock me any less when he got it. It didn't amaze me any less. So I knew he was going to go for it. Look at where he jumps from. 2-footed, just outside the dotted line. And what's the coolest part about this dunk is, look how the full extension, like full Stromile Swift cockback. That's just, I can't think of another playoff dunk. So, a situation with this high stakes, that was this spectacular. I mean, 08, I know KG's putback was really hype. It wasn't at this level of aptitude, but that was really hype, and it was a really big moment. There's some examples here and there, but this is just, this is why we love the game, right? Just because, like, once in a while you see something like this. This is crazy. Let's just watch it again. I don't have too much to say about this play. It's just, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. So I just wanted to point out. There's nothing to point out. I just wanted to watch it again. It's too cool. Like,
Takes a 3-2 lead in this opening round series. Morant. Oh!
Full cockback. Jeez.
3-2 lead in this opening round series. Morant.
He kind of does the Tom Chambers thing a little, where he actually gets more height by hitting the guy. So there is one more thing I want to say, but this is not exclusive to this play, which is some people have pointed out that this should be a charge. Um, and then I can look back to this play, which is incidentally it involves the same people, Anthony Edwards in this case. This happened earlier in the year, where this actually was called a charge and taken back. So this dunk is also spectacular, but ended up not counting. Hold on, backdoor, yeah, and then so they actually called that a charge and waved it off. And this is what I have to say about that. I think that's terrible. I think that I have a rule in mind to get rid of that being a charge. So I just wanted to kind of pause in the middle where he gets full up. First of all, it's a little. I just want to point out it's a little different the way they do it because Edwards is so much bigger. You can see his hand in the ball position is straight up, whereas Ja cocks it back, which I think is a little more stylish. That's just amazing. That's just amazing. So here's my proposal. I think that, right, here's a charge circle. If you take your charge outside the circle, if you're inside the circle, it's always a block. If you're outside the circle, if you get there in time, it's a charge, right? So this is what I think. They should add one more layer to that rule, which is if, as the offensive player, if you go up and you finish the play by touching the rim, it's still a block. That's my suggestion. Add that tidbit so that if you go for it and you get it, it's never a charge anymore. I think that's a fair rule change because it's both sides have to make a calculated risk. As a defender, you can say like, all right, I'm going to take this risk. Anytime you're taking a charge, it's a risk, right? Because you could get there late and it's a block. So you're still taking a risk, but you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to take this risk. I know this guy's a big dunker. I'm going to still try to take a charge on him. But it incentivizes the offensive player, if they're so inclined and sick enough, in the case of guys like Ja or Ant, that if you have, balls of steel, pardon my language, you can go and make the play and not get penalized for it. So that's the rule. That's the rule suggestion I would suggest. It would allow for more spectacular plays, and I think it's fair to both parties because they both have to consider taking a risk. And at the end of the day, like, this is the kind of play you want to. This is the kind of play you should want to see as a basketball fan. Nobody wants to see like this is hype as fuck. Getting a charge call is not hype. Like if it's game 7 and you need to force a stop and this is your team and you got the stop because someone got a charge, then okay, fine. Then I guess that's super hype. But in just regular basketball, taking a charge is not hype. Like, I'm sorry, sometimes it is. Taking a charge in this context is not hype. Like what? That's stupid. And I know a lot of you are gonna say, like, you want like the scrappy, like hardworking, smart players who have good positioning to be rewarded. That's true, but it's also kind of bullshit. And here's why: all rules regarding what's allowed defensively are arbitrary. They're just arbitrary. Like you might think, like, okay, someone is smart or scrappy and they can take advantage of it, but at the end of the day, all the rules regarding what is or isn't legal defensive behavior is completely arbitrary. It changes over the decades. Like hand checking is a famous one, but even a little bit of body bumping, hand checking and body bumping, which is a lot more allowed in the late 80s and early 90s. You could be a good defender if you did that. Like you'd be scrappy and smart and physical all you want. Like, but they changed it. So okay, what are we arguing about? It's just one small rule to tip the balance a little and to make the play make a little bit more sense. That's all it is at the end of the day. It only affects like a handful of plays a year. So I don't think anyone's going to be up in arms about it. The whole idea that like there's an honorable to play D and a dishonorable way, like, okay, yeah, other than like just straight hacking or being, or like, but no, it's not more honorable to be scrappy and make plays that way versus just being naturally talented and like ripping your man or standing him up. Nah, that's completely arbitrary. If we could go back to if like body bumps and hand checks are if more physicality was allowed, like I know there are guys who give me a hard time in pickup who they would never score on me if I was allowed to be way more physical. You know, obviously, like, I'm a pretty strong dude. Like, that's an advantage I could take advantage of. That doesn't make me like a more honorable defender. That's just right. Like, I know I'm very limited defensively, and I do what I can within the confines of the rules, but that doesn't make the rule more honorable. So no, don't give me that argument. That argument is stupid. Um, what the only like true honor in interactions between offense and defense is the basketball gods, and the basketball gods dictate that this play is freaking awesome, and getting it waved off freaking sucks. So that's all I have to say about that. And I think the rule I suggested, which is if you attempt a jump from that far out, if you can reach the rim, then the person is still called for a block. I think that's a fair rule change. And we'll watch it again. And I don't think that's a bad thing to have more plays like this. Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching.